Good morning. I'm Summiya Yasmeen, Managing Editor, Education World, and it's my pleasure to welcome my guest today, Mr. Damodar Goyal, who's the President of the National Federation of Private Schools and Society for Unaided Private Schools of Rajasthan, which famously challenged Section 12(1)(c) of the Right to Education Act in the Supreme Court and won a partial victory for India's private schools, which exempted minority and boarding schools. Mr. Goyal, the last few days have been particularly difficult for India's K-12 private schools. The COVID-19 pandemic and the subsequent national lockdown has triggered several state governments to issue circulars wherein they have directed private school managements to defer collection of tuition fees during the lockdown period. And in some cases, like in Karnataka, they have used the word until further orders. This has severely jeopardized the financial stability of India's 375,000 recognized private unaided schools, as well as, in particular, 400,000 private budget schools. What do you think is the destructive impact of these fee circulars on India's private schools, especially private budget schools?
Yes, to be very honest, this was not expected. It has happened all of a sudden and nobody was prepared for it. And this is a temporary phase and it has impacted all the segment of the country. None is left out from the impact of this COVID-19. Everybody is in house, every activity is standing still and no activity is taking place. Now the government had issued only a direction to not pressurize the parents to pay the fee during the lockdown period. Karnataka has said till further order. Yes. I read it in the line that they can allow prior to the lifting of the lockdown, or because every state will have its own lockdown period. So deferment of the payment of fee will definitely affect the cash flow of each and every school, because the source of revenue of every school, may it be budget or may it be elite or may it be village school, is the fee only, and they have to meet their every expenditure, may it be salary, may it be fixed charges, out of the collection from the salary only. So definitely it is going to affect the cash flow. Now, this cash flow impact, because the schools were not prepared for this eventuality or this kind of crisis, so they have not made enough arrangements for the to meet out this challenge, and they might not have the cash flow available with them to pay the salaries and other expenditure. So definitely it is going to impact. Now, you ask me that how to deal with the situation.
Yes.
My answer will be that this is a time of crisis, and during the period of crisis, we all stakeholders have to work shoulder to shoulder. There should not be any occasion where the things should things may turn into government versus private schools, parents versus private schools, teachers versus private schools. Now we have to create an atmosphere and we have to develop an understanding that how we all stakeholders, including teachers, parents, and government and schools, should work together. And we have to find a way to deal with the situation.
Yeah, because if you notice these circulars,
yes,
you notice these circulars, even though they say defer the collection of fee, the state governments have also asked all private schools that no salaries of teachers should be cut, and the teachers' salaries should be paid as usual, and there should also be no retrenchment of staff. So how do private schools manage this?
That is what exactly I am saying. So it is a question of the money management, cash flow management. It, so the simple thing is that for the cash management, the economic theory says that we have to work with each other. Parents has to understand the plight of the schools, as the school understands the plight of the parents, that they are not having enough cash to pay the fee. And similarly, the parents should also understand that the schools may not have the cash flow to pay the salary, etc. So that is why we have to reach on some kind of understanding that how we help each other.
Okay.
The government issued the order only. I believe that no state has till now issued any order to waive off the fee.
Right.
So we are the yes, yes, yes. You want to say?
So I said nobody has. It's just deferment. It's not waiver of any fees.
Yes, that is what I am saying. So ultimately, schools are going to get the fee for the full year. It is only a matter of the cash management for 2 months or 3 months.
Right.
For that, I will suggest that we have to prioritize our expenditure. We have to defer, like the government had asked the parents to defer the payment of this fee. We have to defer our development plans. We have to defer our extension plans. We have to defer our renovation plans. So we have to save money on many heads, and then to prioritize that where we need to make payments first. Like, according to me, the salary to the teachers should be the first priority. And every school understands that they have to pay the salary. Now, to manage the 3 months fund, there are 3-4 ways. Either some capable parents, those who are capable to pay the fee, and every school knows that who are capable to pay the fee. There is a long relationship in between the school and the parents. So they can request them and persuade them to pay the fee. And if they are able to collect, I am giving the statistics, that if we are able to collect the fee of about from the 15% parent in a one month, we will be able to pay the salary.
Okay.
So now we have to develop some kind of relationship, and we have to make parents understand that how they can help to the schools to run this smoothly and to save the existence of the schools. So it is a mutual, a legal form.
Do you see a role for banks to step in and
yes,
to private schools, like the government plans for MSMEs?
Yes, the government should instruct to the banks to liberal in granting the loans to the private schools. They should be liberal. Schools are not in the restricted category, I believe so. Still, the banks will prefer to pay the loans because they will have a more security instead of going to the this construction business or land and building, real estate. Their priority will be to give the loans to the education sector. So there can be loan.
So my last question to you is, how do you see the situation post COVID-19 pandemic, once we flatten the curve and once the lockdowns are eased in different states across the country?
Yeah, I am very much worried. Let me honest. I am seeing what others are not seeing. Number one, if this present lockdown continues for more than 5 to 6 months, the parents will feel difficulty in paying the fee in lump sum, number one. Then even some parents in some small schools, they may say that we will not send our children, and they will like to save. I am talking about the budget schools. They will be badly affected because there may be a lot of withdrawal of the students from their school. Number two, the residential schools will be affected very severely because parents will not have a confidence in sending their children to the boarding schools. They will always be having tension, and even the children may not like to go because there are a lot of trauma, a lot of this psychological impact will be on their mind. So this is number two. Now the thing is, Yasmin, I will suggest to my fellow school walas that they have to restructure, redesign, and uh, redefine even the entire education system. Now with the introduction of the online education, I am making some different kind of statement that with the introduction of the online education, now the home schooling may be taking place instead of the that physical school education. Now we have to understand that our schools has to be more effective. Our schools has to be more active. Our schools has to be more attractive. And we have to give we have to compensate the loss of the studies which may have taken place during the COVID period.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much for speaking with Education World. It was a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you, Yasmin.